rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Today is October 11th, 2016. Can I have a roll call, please?
Aaron's, Burrows.
Here.
Wheeling.
Here.
Coleman.
Here.
Basil. Meyer. Here.
Okay, the minutes of September 26th, 2016. Changes, corrections?
There was one thing that I wanted an explanation on. It would be on page 2 up at the top when we granted the, the 50% non-conforming use. It says permission to the current owner, but it only goes with that current owner. It doesn't go with the property, correct?
That has actually been clarified yet. You always do adopt the ordinance, which would be coming up at the end of this month. And then now that you said that, I had asked that question of our attorney, and I don't think he responded.
We haven't had an answer.
Yeah.
Okay. Because we need to get an answer.
Right, yeah, we'd have that for the next meeting.
Okay.
That and any other questions that we have.
Okay. Because I think we approved it per that.
We approved the adopt the ordinance, yeah, we
Right.
actually approved the ordinance yet. But then we would have the answers to your questions, some of which I did send out.
Okay.
And then that one we have an answer.
Okay.
Any other questions? Is there a motion made?
So moved.
Okay, is there a second? Roll call.
Burrows.
Yes.
Wheeling.
Yes.
Coleman.
Yes.
Meyer. Yes.
Anyone from the audience wish to address the board?
Actually, may I?
Sure.
I'd like to speak on behalf of the Creek United Methodist Church. I'm the youth director. We're having our annual wreath sale. I'm not sure if the village has somebody that they buy wreaths from, but I wanted to make an offer to the village. Don't have it, just came to my head to take the opportunity, but if that'd be something you guys would be willing to consider, I'd be able to get that for you. I don't know if you decorate village-wide or what you guys do. I'm not too sure, but
Okay, we'll keep that in mind.
yeah,
Thank you.
I'll send you guys that information.
Okay.
Thank
Good.
you.
Anybody else? Okay, the Village Commission's Beautification Commission, Trustee Garrett is not here. They're having a meeting tonight. That's who's in the other room. 4th of July Commission, Trustee Coleman.
Yeah, nothing new to report at this time.
Youth Commission, Trustee Kaporis.
This Friday the 14th is the junior high trip to the haunted house. And then on the 22nd, I believe it is the trunk or treat in conjunction with the Chamber of Commerce. That's it.
What date was that, trunk or treat?
Trunk or treat is the 22nd. Yes.
Yeah.
Saturday.
Where will that be held?
Fireman's Parking
Fireman's
Lot.
Park.
They're gonna have a parade. Correct me if I'm wrong here, Jeff. 5:30 is the parade? Or is it 4:30?
Lineup is 5:15.
Lineup is 5:15 at the high school parking lot, or high school drive. And then they're gonna go Hodges to Grade School Drive and up Penfield into Fireman's Parking Lot. So the parade must be at 5:30. And then the event's over at 7 or 7:30. Yeah.
Riverville Hope, I know they're trying to get a meeting together. I don't have a date for that. Historic Preservation, Trustee Whalen.
Yes, the Washington Township Board agreed to pay for, or share in the cost of 10 plaques for the remainder of this year. So they're on board as far as helping to pay for those plaques that we're planning on putting out. One other item that came up, got a letter from GSS, which is working with Union Pacific, who proposes to construct an approximate 42-foot monopole.
That's a mile and a half south.
A mile and a half south.
Why they would send that to historic preservation is beyond me.
So I guess we have historic properties out there that, we have to protect, so.
Yeah, the monopole is a mile and a half south of town.
Right, south of Corning Road, so.
Yeah.
I just wanted to let you guys be aware of that. That's all I have. We do meet on the 3rd Tuesday of every month.
Is there a usual time?
10 a.m.
at the depot.
at the depot.
That it?
That's it.
Thank you. Marcy?
First, we have the treasurer's report. Lynn?
Well, as of September 30th, this month, our village account balances were $2,677,797. The general fund was $1,135,426. We did receive quite a few of our tax payments from the state for real estate taxes and income taxes, and that increased our balance in the general account to by $386,601 for the month over last month. You can see that we're doing quite well with our funds from the line graph that we have presented. And that's all that I have.
I'd like to make a motion approving the treasurer's report and the report of financial activity for September.
Second.
Motion on the floor, and there's a second. Any questions on motion? Roll call.
Meyer? Yes. Coleman?
Yes.
Whalen?
Yes.
Caprows?
Yes.
Variance reports are in the packet for your review. And then we have approval of bills, and it looks like a few were added since the last packet was sent. There's one for air gas, Dutch American Foods tax reimbursement, Beecher Hardware, Brackman Company, a couple of Constellation Energy bills, Denler for crack sealing for Church and Cardinal Creek Boulevard, HD Waterworks, the union local negotiations, I couldn't pronounce that name, Minor Electronics, and it's almost on Webfoot Designs. So the new balance of bills for the month is $244,575.25. I'd like to make a motion to approve the bills for September for $244,575.25.
Second.
Motion on the floor, and there was a second. Any questions? Roll call.
Caprows?
Yes.
Whalen?
Yes.
Coleman?
Yes.
Meyer? Yes. And then we're considering a motion authorizing the payment of $5,000 to MJ Underground from the Nantucket Code escrow account for the repair of 3 water service lines under the roadway.
Yes.
What happened there?
Well, if you remember, I want to say probably about 2 years ago, I informed the board about the electrolysis that was going on at that time with the service lines, and we had fixed probably 3 or 4 of them in-house. Well, these are other ones that have popped up, and there is one leaking right now. It's not going to prevent that we're going to be able to do it, but we had to hire M&J because they had to auger underneath the road and pull a new line. So that will continue until pretty much they get to like the full build out on that property, because what's happening there is the electrolysis is going from the plastic water main, eating up the service line, and when it's connected to your house, it goes through a grounding rod and gets discharged back into the ground. That isn't happening out there, so it really has no place to go. So we will be discussing that a lot more at the Public Works Committee meeting on the 26th as to a different approach.
So I'd like to make the motion authorizing the payment of $5,000 to M&J Underground from the Nantucket Code escrow account for the repair of the 3 water service lines.
Second.
There's a motion on the floor, and there was a second. Any questions on the motion? Roll call.
Meyer? Yes. Coleman?
Yes.
Whalen?
Yes.
Caprows?
Yes.
Scott?
Consider an ordinance granting a special use permit for a digital sign for the Beecher Fire Protection District at 711 Penfield Street. After due notice and public hearing, the PZC recommends approval of the special use permit with the following conditions. That the day and night light intensity switch be on there, and also no flashing on the sign. So I believe that's reflected in the ordinance. So I'd like to make a motion to approve
1249.
$12.49.
There was a motion on the floor, is there a second?
Second.
There is a second, any questions on the motion? Roll call.
Caprows,
Yes.
Whalen,
Yes.
Coleman,
Yes.
Meyer.
Yes.
And then we have our audit firm here tonight, will make presentation on the management letter.
Matt Aaron with Lauterbach and Amon, partnered with the firm that oversaw the audit this year, so I'm here to present the audit for April 30th, 2016. So I think we have two documents in front of you, the management letter and the audit report. We can flip through the numbers quick for the audit report and then kind of dive in a little more detail in the management letter. So the thicker document is the audit report. So a few pages in here, about 4 pages in, there's this page. It's got the Lauterbach and Amon letterhead on it. This is our opinion page. We gave the village a unmodified opinion this year, which is the highest opinion that we give. Basically, we're saying the numbers in here are free of material misstatement, or in other words, the numbers in here are what they say they are. 2 pages after that is the management discussion and analysis. This whole section is a summary of everything that is within this audit report in narrative format. So if you want to go back to a place to read what happened in the village during the year, this would be the spot to go. But since I'm going to be covering that in my presentation, let's flip on past this section. So at the bottom you can see it says MD&A 1, MD&A 2, etc. There's 11 pages of MD&A. So flip past MD&A 11 and we can get to the true pages 3 and 4. True pages 3 or 4 are going to look like this. Statement of deposition. This is your government-wide financials. This is the spot where all of your funds are summed together into one spot on what we call full accrual accounting, which means capital assets, you can see on page 3, and debt on page 4 added on here. Where I'd like to point out to you is at the bottom of page 4, your net position. So all of your governmental activities, which is to be your fund, all of your funds except for water, sewer, and refuse, they're in the other column. Governmental activities, you had a total of $18.8 million at your net position, but if you're talking about just your restricted and unrestricted fund balances, which kind of relate to your cash, that's about $800,000. In total, this whole net position decreased from last year by $649,000 due to depreciation on your capital assets and the implementation of GASB 68. Halfway up, you can see that line for GASB 68 and the net pension liability of $560,000. It was new this year. It was the Governmental Accounting Standards Board implemented this new accounting change this year. I can go into it in further detail if you'd like, or if we can just flip on past. It has nothing to do with your funding. All you have to do is keep doing what the actuary for Margraf tells you to do. It's just an accounting change. Hearing none. So
What that is telling bondholders out there what our true liabilities are, even though they're not owed at this point in time. At some point in time, you will have to pay them.
yeah, essentially it's taking you up what is left to get you to 100% funded. You're 84% funded at the village for your IMRAP. That $500,000 represents the last 16%.
And unfortunately for these elected officials, you almost have to be a CPA to understand, unlike the old days, when things were a lot simpler.
Yeah, absolutely. I always tell everybody for GASB 68, this thing was supposed to help bring extra transparency and clarity to these financials for the pension world, and it's actually made it significantly more confusing and less transparent. So it kind of went reverse.
Well, when you're depreciating assets, there's no way you're going to show an increase in fiscal position unless we do the sewer plant for $9 million in 1 year, it gets booked in 1 year.
Yeah.
Depreciation just eats you up. Continue.
So flipping forward to your actual fund financials, go to page 7, please. Page 7 is where you can see the balance sheet for your governmental funds. Your main fund on here is your general fund, it's your main operating funds. That's the one I'm going to highlight. The second number from the bottom is, you can see the fund balance on page 7 is $613,000 for the general fund. So how do we do? Let's go forward to page 9. We can see the general fund income statement. On page 9, at the bottom, you see that $613,000. 2 numbers up from there, your total net change in fund balance was $113,000 positive. So basically, you had you went over budget, your revenues, thanks to the increases in video gaming income and use tax during the year. You also came in below budget in your expenditures to allow for this $113,000 increase from the general fund. So positive year in the general fund. Looking forward 2 pages from there, page 11 and 12, this is us seeing your proprietary funds. So we're back to this full accrual accounting, capital assets and debt on here for your business type funds, so water and sewer. In total for your water and sewer funds at the bottom, you can see your net position is $12 million with 595 of it being unrestricted. How do we do? Go over to page 12, you can see the total is a net decrease of $210,000. To give us a little bit better clarity of what this means, let's flip back to page 61 where it shows the actual breakout of water and sewer. Water and sewer, we have back here broke out individually so you can see exactly how these 2 funds did. In total for your water fund at the bottom of page 61, you had a net decrease for your water fund of $176,000. Sewer, you had a net decrease of $34,000. With these decreases, we're starting something. Depreciation is the biggest cause of that for the water fund, is why the decrease is happening. But at some point over time, we're going to have to make sure we're keeping an eye on that. I know there was water rate talk for future capital projects in the future years according to the management discussion analysis. So I know you're looking into it, but the same would go for your sewer fund. With your water fund, you currently have an unrestricted balance. You can see on page 60 at $590,000, so a pretty nice balance still in cash for your unrestricted amount. Sewer, you're down at $4,000. So something just to keep an eye on as you start to look into the future. One positive for the water, for the sewer fund, your final IEPA loan payment happens next year in 2017. Yeah. So that is my audit report presentation. Any questions about the audit report? All right, going forward to the management letter. This is a much skinnier document that you guys have in front of you. What the management letter is, it's a document that we use to provide the board and management additional information, other ways of tips, other best practices that we want to communicate to you that doesn't quite fit into the audit report itself. So in year one, obviously we haven't done audits for you guys in the past, so they're all new recommendations. As we go forward to next year, there'll be 2 sections. There'll be a current section that will show any new ones if we find any next year, and then all of the prior recommendations that we'll be showing again with a status update of what happened with them, if they were implemented or not. So, in total this year for our audit, we had 8 management letter comments. So I'll kind of just go through them one by one, and we can have any sort of discussion you guys would like to have on each of the items. So, item number 1 was with the bank reconciliations. We noted during our audit procedures that some of the bank reconciliations were not being formally finalized. We weren't getting a full listing of deposits in transit, outstanding checks, and those that would ultimately show a finalized bank rec that was being reviewed each month. So we're recommending that each month those pieces all get put together and get compared back to the general ledger to make sure everything is tying out and everything is reconciled appropriately every month for every bank account.
Presently being done.
So next year, so like I said, next year we'll have all these shown with then a line underneath that says status, and we'll be able to say that it's been implemented next year when we come back higher. Number 2 was about your restricted accounts. So you guys have a number of restricted accounts, your ribbon of hopes, your asset forfeiture, nuisance abatement, newsletter, and then on top of that you also have your restricted funds, the Youth Commission, 4th of July Commission, beautification, Cardinal, etc. The ones that were really restricted, like ribbon of hope, those were not being recorded onto your village financials. They're in your name, they're part of your operations. We recommend that all of that activity be included into your general ledger and also be ultimately budgeted for and looked at because it's all part of your operations. Same would then go for your offline bank accounts, your ones that are, that kind of are dedicated more to those specific funds, 4th of July, et cetera, that those get reconciled fully each month. Everything get recorded in the general ledger, so you're better able to track what's going on with those funds throughout the year.
You're not the first auditor that has recommended that. This board has discussed this recommendation every year, and it keeps coming up with a problem. It's a conflict between giving the commissions the autonomy to operate. For example, the 4th of July just adopted a fiscal year that's different than ours. So I don't know how we're gonna blend that, because their big event is on the 4th of July, and they wanna close their books on October 1st. That's the discussion we have. And if the village board is approving those bills and setting their budget limits, they're really not operating autonomously as far as an independent commission doing what it needs to do with the money it raises. And that's the problem we have here.
Right.
We know where you're coming from.
Yep.
We understand it. We just haven't committed to doing that yet, and it would have to be a board decision. We've had discussions every year on this very issue. It's so difficult. I know why you want it,
Yes.
and I know why they want to keep it the way it is, because when you take a volunteer's rights away, you lose the volunteer.
Yeah.
So it's a struggle, but we understand the recommendation.
Okay. Going forward to number 3, I think this is also one that has been discussed before, and Bob and I
As charged.
had discussions throughout the other about it. So ultimately, Bob does a split of invoices, so things don't go over budget by the line item. I've tried to stress to him from an audit standpoint, I don't care about the line item, it's about the fund level in general, that it'd be better to highlight if an individual line item goes over for then the next year's budget to be able to recognize that. But anyway, we've discussed it, it's in here.
It's the way I control spending.
Yep.
With the dependents. I understand it, they understand it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Number 4, personnel file organization. Ultimately, during our audit, we do internal control procedures, we do walkthroughs. One of those pieces is your payroll. Throughout that, we look at personnel files to make sure that in terms of best practices, what's being followed, everything is in there. And there were some various missing items in there that we went over during the audit. So, not a big deal, but just something just to highlight. Number 5 is a capital asset policy. This is more of a policy for management, for Bob to be able to dictate this is how capital assets are going to work at the village.
So you already passed that last board meeting.
Perfect.
Yeah. I know exactly, you didn't want to be the one setting the policy on the free sheet.
Right.
I was us to set the policy.
I want you to tell me how you want your capital assets appreciated and capitalized. Number 6, internal interfund receivable and payable. We noted during our audit there was one balance, this $28,000 between the general fund and the public infrastructure fund that had been outstanding for many years. So I was encouraging you to look into it to see what it was from and if it was going to be paid down or what was going to happen with
It goes back many years, and we don't know, it's a due to public infrastructure from general, is that what it is?
I think so.
So I'm assuming that when we first started the first half-point sales tax, there might have been something that didn't get transferred back in '07 or '08. And I would just recommend the board forgive it, just get it off the books, because you're right, it's been there. I didn't even know it was on the books, to be honest with you. You brought it to my attention, I didn't even know it was there. So it just needs to be corrected. I don't know if it was a underpayment or we missed a month. I have no idea what caused that back in '07 or '08. Who knows? Because the state sends us one check,
Yeah.
and we have to split it. And we have a system set up for that now. But to go back and find out what it was, I would just have the board pass a motion eliminating the duty.
That
Is
sounds.
that what you're looking for?
Yep, that sounds good to me.
Okay, I don't think we can do that tonight because it's not on the agenda, but at a future meeting we can do that.
Yep, sounds perfect. Number 7, funds over budget. So this is a comment that we, like I was saying, a couple before of us looking at the overall fund level. The one fund that went over budget was the 4th of July commissions. Anytime in an audit that we see a fund in total go over budget, we're supposed to highlight it within the audit report, and I present it to you as the board, just so you are aware.
You know why that was? They built a building,
Okay,
and they were supposed to build it after the 4th. They decided to build it before the 4th, so it wasn't in the budget.
okay.
Yeah. But they did spend a lot of money this year. There's been some weeping and gnashing of teeth at the commission on how to fix that problem.
So is it the fact that you guys know what it is and why it is the point?
No,
And you were
they-
able to know that?
They
you know
violated
in
their own
advance?
reserve policy, is what they did. They had a minimum reserve balance, and they went below it to finish the building before the 4th,
Yeah,
which caused a cash flow problem for the festival itself. So this is no surprise. They're correcting the problem, but I think it's gonna take them more than a year, right, Mars? I don't think it's gonna take one, it's gonna take at least 2 more
It's gonna
festivals.
take at
to
least
drag
2
on.
more here. And I'm guessing with fiscal year, so this was ending probably April 30th
Yes.
when you were looking at this. And we were,
Yeah.
I think we already paid for the car then too,
There
didn't
was
we?
a
Yeah.
combination.
And we didn't get any income yet, yeah. So
It's gonna show up in the next fiscal year, but the village actually loaned them 25,000 for 4 days, so they could open the festival this year. And then they paid it back as soon as the 4th was over, they paid it back, but that's how short of cash they were.
Hmm.
It's not a situation you want your commission to be in.
no. Actually, we're talking the autonomy of the fund, when you keep it separate, how you guys have to step up.
Point well taken.
Yep.
You said it.
Yeah, that was a jam.
Yeah, just an
That's why he
observation.
started with one, but he left this.
Boy, he fits in real well.
Just a comment. Last one, public benefit levy. I noted during the audit that the village had been issuing a public benefit property tax levy. Those were supposed to go towards this special assessment. As I had spoken about this, I wasn't able to determine what that special assessment is for the village, so he was gonna review
Yeah,
as we
the
move forward.
prior 2 auditors never brought this to our attention, but my intention is to move the public benefit over to police protection. We have plenty of gap in the police protection, I'll just move that amount over to police, it won't affect the bottom line. But that's what our plan is.
I think that's a good point. And that is the management letter. Does anybody have any questions?
No. I would like to make a motion of accepting the audit for fiscal year 2015, 2016.
Motion on the floor, and there was a second. Any questions or motion? Roll call.
Meyer,
Yes.
Coleman,
Yes.
Whalen.
Yes.
Caprows.
Yes. And you'll take care of the electronic transmittals?
Yep.
To the state?
Yep.
You got a signature for that, or?
We'll send over to you a copy for your final approval. You just say yes, and we don't need an approval. We don't need a signature.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you, and it was a great first year on it. We had really liked being able to go over the drive-through, it was wonderful, so. I think we put on a couple pounds that week, so appreciate it.
Oh, good, oh.
Yeah, over to Buddies, yes, mid-afternoon, going to get some ice cream, so I appreciate everybody's help, and look forward to presenting again next year.
See you next summer.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Guys, have a good night, go Cubs.
Yeah.
I have 2 appointments to make tonight. Therefore, I would ask for someone to make a motion thereafter. It's Jody Cook had resigned from the Beecher Youth Commission. We would replace her with Mary Rose Giannetti. And I also have Mike Lau being appointed to the 4th of July Commission to replace
Joe Gardner.
Joe Gardner. Someone will make that motion.
So moved.
Motion on the floor, is there a second?
Second.
There's a second. Any questions or motion? Roll call.
Caprows.
Yes.
Whalen.
Yes.
Coleman.
Yes.
Meyer.
Yes.
Unfortunately, I do need a executive session tonight to discuss pending litigation, which is I just need the chief of police to stay. Someone make a motion.
So moved.
Motion made.
Second.
There's a second. Any question or motion? Roll call.
Meyer.
Yes.
Yes.
Whalen.
Yes.
Caprows.
Yes.
Thanks, everybody.